Hey guys, this is going to be my One Punch Man theory video, and before I get into the video at all, I would like to mention that this video is probably going to contain material that is going to spoil it for pretty much most of you, unless you're caught up with both the manga and the webcomic of One Punch Man. Now, the manga and webcomic differ slightly plot-wise up until this point, and currently I'm caught up to chapter 80 of the webcomic, and basically me and another friend of mine for over a year now have been trying to come up with a theory about the source of Saitama's power. And a few days ago, before I even started reading the webcomic, I came up with an idea that might have explained the source of Saitama's power, but it required a certain assumption that did not have any evidence up until the point that I was read up until then. Now again, I'm going to mention that this video is probably going to contain spoilers, so those of you who are not interested in being spoiled, then please just leave the video this instant. Basically, a few days ago, during a conversation with a friend, I came up with an idea that would explain Saitama's supposedly infinite, unlimited power. Now, everybody knows, and it's pretty much established at this point, that the creatures or living beings, monsters or heroes alike, that display superhuman capabilities have achieved those capabilities because of their desires, and basically it's either an extreme obsession with something that is granted in the form of their power, or it's an intense desire with focusing only on that desire and absolutely nothing else. Now, this isn't really a spoiler because this is pretty much explained or hinted at, but not vaguely at all throughout the entire series. And after I came up with this idea that I'm about to explain, I've decided to binge read the entire webcomic to see if it has any evidence for it. Now, the idea of mine was that people say that Saitama has infinite power, or that it seems that a god resides inside of his body. And so far, it doesn't seem really as if there was any god, at least up until the point that I was reading. Now, Saitama's desire, since he was a kid, was to be able to defeat any opponent in one punch, or he wanted to have the power to defeat any opponent whatsoever in one punch. And my idea was that if a god existed in the One Punch Man universe, then he would also be among all opponents that Saitama would be able to defeat in one punch. Now, a god has unlimited, infinite power. So in order to defeat a being with infinite power in a single punch, you too would need to have infinite power. And this, I argue, was granted to Saitama simply because there exists a god with infinite power. So his desire was to be stronger than any opponent. And in order for him to actually be granted this, he would need to have infinite power himself, and therefore he was granted infinite power. That at least is my theory and my idea. And since I started reading the webcomic, I came across two things. So far, as I mentioned, I'm caught up to chapter 80 of the webcomic. And there have been so far two instances that basically would confirm my theory. The leader of the House of Evolution, during a conversation with Zombie Man, mentions that God has created all living beings with a limiter. And I was thinking, what is a leader of a scientific establishment doing talking about a God creating living beings, especially since the the organization he's a leader of is called the House of Evolution, which would kind of mean that creatures are not created but evolve. But it turns out that it's an artificial evolution that he's inducing on test subjects in his organization, or at least used to. And that would suggest that a God does exist. And then in chapter 80, we actually come across a character that supposedly is God. Now, God seems to be evil, or at least he's granted Homeless King, I think his name was, or something similar to that. He granted him his power and eventually took it away from him. But okay, so since God is evil and Saitama has the power to defeat any villain in one punch, that would mean that Saitama was granted the power to defeat this God character in a single punch, which would require infinite power. Now, that is my theory, and I'm going to continue reading the webcomic to see if it gets further confirmed, or if it gets, if my theory gets completely destroyed. And I'm intellectually honest enough to admit that I've been wrong, unless they have other explanations that would basically explain away the inconsistencies. But if I do see that it is unlikely that my theory is correct, then I will actually go back to this video and add an annotation about here, I would say, mentioning that this theory is probably not correct. But until then, I hope you actually liked my idea, and I'd actually like to hear your own theories in the comments section and see if they have any merit, because this is probably one of the most mysterious things about the One Punch Man series that keeps many readers on reading, even though it does seem as if Saitama is invincible, which would kind of make the series boring, because the outcome of every battle is pretty predictable. See you guys. Let me know in the comment section what you think, and have a nice day.